They're songs from Illinois' past, interpreted in fresh ways.
They have different qualities. They're so much fun.
You're getting the geographical from the northern part of the state, Chicago, all the way down to Cairo. I'm just so excited about this piece.
Well, it's fun to take something old and try to do something new with it.
In the next half hour, take in the sights, hear the stories behind the songs, and experience the performance of Illinois Suite.
My name is Paul Johnston, and I'm a pianist, teacher, and composer. I've worked at Eastern Illinois University since 2004. Well, I started writing music when I was in college for friends who were preparing for a recital and wanted something special to play. Since then, I've written music for all kinds of groups, choirs, orchestras, and chamber groups. This piece, this Illinois Suite, is a collection of 5 different songs that kind of represent different aspects of Illinois. The bassist and writer Chuck Israels was here a couple of years ago, and he was working on these arrangements of songs in the public domain. And so I had this kind of idea to write a piece that used material that's in the public domain. And I knew that Gary Harrison had put together this collection of fiddle tunes. So I thought that could be a source of material.
Dear Old Illinois is, I think, probably the best collection of downstate Illinois tunes and songs. It really is very comprehensive. My name is Gay Harrison, and I moved to Charleston in 1977 and married Gary Harrison, who at that time was collecting old-time music with some of his friends, John Bishop and his brother Steve Harrison and several other people. And I got the bug, and I decided I want to play this music too. And so when their mandolin player left for Chicago, I became the mandolin player of the Indian Creek Delta Boys. Back when the guys and I was helping collect music, we found out that there was someone else collecting in the southern part of the state, and that was Professor David McIntosh. But he wasn't collecting instrumental music, he was collecting songs. We were just so excited about that because we thought this is a perfect melding of the two. We have the instrumentals and then the vocal stuff. And so we went down and talked with Mrs. McIntosh. David had passed away. Put our little daughter on her lap, and she sat there and, held her and thought, this is a good idea. You should have the collection. So we were excited, but then, as it turned out, the collection was in Indiana, and we weren't able to get over there, being new parents and all this stuff. So fast forward 3 decades later, and Gary ended up being at Indiana University and striking up a friendship with David McIntosh Jr., who said, absolutely, take the collection and run with it. So putting those two together became the wonderful book, Dear Old Illinois.
From that book, I chose Going Down to Cairo, which is a kind of bluegrass old-time tune.
Going Down to Cairo is a real interesting tune. It actually occurs in 2 parts of the book because David McIntosh came across some lyrics but didn't have any of the music for quite a while. So he had scraps of paper that had all of the lyrics on it. And then when we were going around and collecting, we met Noe Beavers from Jackson County, and he lived in Elkville. And he knew the fiddle tune, Going Down to Cairo.
Going Down to Cairo has a catchy melody that caught my attention. I thought it would be fun to kind of set that with some more modern harmonies and see what happened. In 1902, Paul Dresser published a song called In Dear Old Illinois.
Dear Old Illinois, which I'm so glad it's part of this Paul's suite, was originally collected from Logue Watson by Dr. McIntosh. Dear Old Illinois is quite a unique song. I started playing it and realizing that it is a lot of the same kinds of tonality as a Scottish march. And I know it's very different in the interpretation in Paul Johnston's suite. But this is I really enjoyed playing it with a little filigree and all of that stuff. And it's in 4/4 time. And then there's a little section in there that goes into a minor, and it's really an interesting tune. And it's the title of the book, so we had to include it, of course.
Playing with other people is the fun part of all of this. Composition is a fun challenge, but you do all of that by yourself. So it's really fun to bring in other people and get their feedback and get their insights. Particularly on this project, it was really fun to work with David and Jim, but they are both world-class people and musicians.
Well, I'm David Commande, Director of Orchestral Activities and Instructor of Cello at EIU. Also Artistic Director of the Heartland Festival Orchestra.
I'm Jim Young Kim, and I'm the instructor of violin and viola here at EIU. And I'm also the concertmaster of the Heartland Festival Orchestra, where David is the music director.
Well, Paul came to us and Paul said, well, I've got something I've written. Would you guys try this out sometime? And so Jim and I came up into the studio and we read through them. And of course, Paul is always very gracious and, looking for help and so forth. They were already quite good, but we had some back and forth about the bowings, and there were voicings and ways that Paul was always working on it, and it evolved hugely. So then we did that last year, and then when the possibility of doing this and bringing it to a real performance was there, Jim and I were excited about doing it.
Would you want to take an 11?
Paul is, such a good colleague and an individual. Whenever he wants to get his suggestions or ideas across, he's very gentle and cordial about it. And of course, I appreciate that, and I try to be the same way.
Okay.
It was very inviting, just atmosphere where we felt free to just, suggest different ideas. A lot of it was challenging for me, actually. And there was this one movement where Paul and I have consecutive eighth notes. But he wasn't playing it evenly, he was playing in jazz style, and he demonstrated for me several times. I could see what he's doing, and I could understand, and it sounded cool, but I couldn't really reproduce it on the violin. And so, there was some time where he had to explain.
Also, it's 73. How about you reality test? I mean, you have bowings, and then you say, well, we're not sure this really works here. And then besides bowing, there's the question, well, do we want to speed up here? Do we want to slow down? Are we going to breathe at this moment? So it's a conversation. It's a three-way conversation. And sometimes everybody says, well, we want to do it differently, or one person has the idea and makes a suggestion, and then the other two test it out, and then we come to something we all want to do. It's been a special pleasure to work with Paul because of his generosity and graciousness, and his sense of that he's always discovering in every single rehearsal. He has a tremendous humility, which to me actually is the marker for the greatest people that I've worked with in my career, that humility. So it was just sheer delight.
Blackberry Blossom is definitely an Irish tune. It has that long, short that is a hornpipe. And it's very interesting, too, because I think that maybe the original that came through didn't have that change in the second part going to a minor, but this one does. And it's kind of dramatic, and it gives it a little depth. We had heard about a fiddler named Harry Jones, and he lived in Funkhauser. And John Bishop hunted him down and found him, and he let us come and tape him. And I'm so glad they got this version of it. It is really quite lovely.